Everyone, hi. Bruce Muffson, LCSW, coming out with another live stream from where else? Sunridge of Nevada. Tonight's topic is PTSD. We've done this in the past, but I've gotten a lot of comments about PTSD behaviors and issues, and I wanted to revisit it. It's also part of our trilogy. Last week, for those that were listening, I talked about dysfunctional families, and that got a huge response. And we're going to go back to that again in the near future. The other thing tonight, though, is about PTSD, understanding what PTSD is, how it affects you. And next week is our monthly training, 6/24, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. The cost is going to be $10. And the topic, because we discussed this topic before, is the importance of fathers in a child's life. All the information, and I mean all the information, is in the description box. And for those of you that want to pay by cryptocurrency, no problem. Shoot us an email and we'll tell you how to get started with get into the code that you need to do the training. So I want to talk tonight about PTSD, why it's so relevant and how it affects so many people, and really begin to understand from last week, piggybacking on last week, dysfunctional families, not having the support that you need as a family or being in a family. Tonight, PTSD, which is often related to, what kind of support are you going to get from those around you? And the following week, fathers, part 2, talking about how important fathers are into the development of a child's life as they grow up, both boys and girls. All right. I get a lot of questions about this is statistics. How many people are actually affected by PTSD? So I want to clarify that. What is PTSD? It takes very varied perspectives and various incidents on how it occurs. So, for instance, surviving an active shooter in a public location, which is becoming more and more common. Narcissistic abuse in an intimate relationship where you're constantly being talked down to, made fun of, humiliated, a lot of emotional and mental abuse. To severe and prolonged abuse and neglect occurring in childhood. Again, going back to that same theme, who's looking out for the children? Statistics suggest that a lifetime estimate of approximately 7% for PTSD diagnoses, which is a small portion relative to those who experience trauma. So on average, 7 out of 100 people will go on to develop symptoms associated with PTSD. After experiencing it as a significant traumatic event, with an average estimate of 7.5 million to 8 million people a year developing the disorder. Hey, Brian, nice to hear you. Good. All right, here's the thing, though. I want to clarify this about PTSD. It is a very fluid disorder, and it kind of goes up and down depending on the situation. So anyone has any questions about PTSD, tonight's the night. Fire away, ask away. The effects of post-traumatic stress can be lifelong, chronic, and highly variable. Variable. That's my point. Continuum. Think of it as a roller coaster. Children who are abused or neglected may develop symptoms of PTSD, compromising their ability to function as independent adults. Others may not develop any symptoms or milder symptoms. Issues with your self-worth, your self-love, feelings of usefulness, and suicidal ideation are commonly reported to those with PTSD. I want to back up a second here. Self-worth, self-love, feeling of uselessness. What does that stem from? When you don't feel good about yourself, you get into that mindset that everything is all black, nothing is going to get better, and I'm screwed. My life's not going to improve. And I want to tell you this, to understand this, that this is what often happens, though, when people that suffer from this, a feeling of I'm useless. No one cares about me. I'll never be successful. I can tell you as a clinician, I deal with this every single day of people that have had stress in their life, PTSD behaviors and situations, and it's almost like they're ruined. It's almost like, to me, when I look at an athlete, I still love sports, but when I watch an athlete like a basketball player and he can just jump to the moon or hit a jump shot from 35 feet away, we'll race half the court to block a shot. We'll see a football player, blocking 2 or 3 guys and helping another person get into a touchdown. A hockey player, like swooshing back and forth. baseball player, you're just talent, talent, talent. And then they get horribly injured, which unfortunately happens a lot, and they're never the same again. It's like a horse, like a racehorse that gets hobbled. That's what PTSD does to people when it happens, particularly in childhood. And many, many times they're not the same. And all my words of encouragement, all my words of praise, self-worth, love yourself, get self-confidence, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, what am I talking about? Why would I have that? I feel useless. I feel like a zero. It happens. So I want to explain that. That's what PTSD, that's what real PTSD does to people. You feel like a shell of yourself. So, and when it happens in childhood, you're more susceptible to being re-traumatized later in life with unhealthy adult relationships. What does that mean? What's an unhealthy adult relationship? When you don't have any say over your life and you're drawn to people that are inherently bad for you, that don't really care about you but want to use and abuse you, because these guys are like sharks. Could be women too. They're like sharks in water that smell blood, and they just instinctively go for it. And they know you're wounded. They know you're not strong, and they take advantage of you, and they mistreat you physically, sexually, emotionally, clinically, mentally. You have no say in your life. You're a punching bag. And these people are going to put hands on you. They're going to direct comments to you. You're stupid. You're ugly, particularly towards women. You're fat. You're repulsive. No one's going to want you. Where's my dinner? Violence, smashing things, breaking things, poor providers. And if you have kids with this winner or winette, your life is horrible. So it's all you're exposed to is negative, caustic comments. It's amazing how many people I've worked with that will say this to me. Like, I just, what, Bruce, you're the first person to ever give me confidence in myself. Like, I'm the first? And unfortunately, often I am. Because they didn't grow up in a household where there was anything positive said to them. Just crushing comments. And that's one kind of PTSD. Then you have people that experience things from trauma, from combat, from, being in situations of, like now, mass shootings almost like a daily event in America. Those things affect you also. Horrible car crash. But I'm talking about the childhood abuse that destroys kids. And no matter what I do to pump, it's like I talk and it's like I try and blow confidence into them. It doesn't work because they don't believe it. And I've had people who are 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old from a clinical level, and they'll say to me, I'm still 8 years old. I'm still that little girl that was molested by my uncle. And even if they're lucky enough to achieve things academically, lucky enough to have some kind of success financially, even having a decent relationship with a husband that loves them, they still say this to me. The slightest thing goes wrong, and I'm back to being 8 all over again in a closet, crying myself because I'm crying to myself over what just happened. And I hear this so often. I got guys in their 60s. I wanted to be a baseball player. I love baseball, but my dad destroyed it for me. Everything was abusive. I made a ground ball error. He made me stay after the Little League game to hit 100 ground balls to me. It got dark. I couldn't even see the ball. Lights weren't coming on yet, hitting me hard ground balls that was smashing me in the face. And I was crying and I was saying, Dad, please, enough, more. 10 more for crying like a baby. Go do laps now, loser. Destroyed my love of the game. And every time I see a baseball game on TV, I turn it off. I switch a channel. That's how bad I feel about watching baseball now. Even if I'm driving by and I see Little League or a softball game, that trauma, those flashbacks come crashing back into me. Bruce, does PTSD ever go away? Yes, it does. It goes away. Not everyone's going to have lifelong PTSD, bro. I want to clarify that for the audience that's listening. PTSD in most cases will go away because what you do is you compartmentalize it and you move on with your life. You may have an occasional flashback. You may have an occasional nightmare, but it doesn't consume you the way it does when it's intense and it's like very, very red. Like the intensity starts to go down, the glow starts to go down, and you become better able to handle it and better able to manage it. But I will say this, depending how young you are when it happens, if you don't get support that you need, it will follow you into your teenage years, young adult, and into, you know, your middle age. I've had people in their 70s that still had dealing with trauma. They couldn't process it. And they talk. I had a guy recently said to me he was in the Korean War as a 17-year-old. I guess he lied about his age, and he saw some terrible things. A lot of people, of course, were killed. And he said to me only recently, as he began to talk about it and realized that I need help. I'm in my late 70s and I still have nightmares. 17 to, let's see, 77. Yeah, 60 years later, 70 years, still dealing with it. It's a problem. You got to get the help early. And that's something that we try and talk about in this channel over and over again, is the preventative aspect of it. You guys are getting my expertise, my experience. That's what I want you to have from this. So when I tell you things clinically, like it's like, oh my God, he lived through this. Yeah, I have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times. And I can tell you, the earlier you deal with the problem, the better it's going to be solved. It's common sense. That's why I want you guys to focus on listening, asking questions, fire away. Hope this answers your question, Brian. And that's the point. So again, going back to that childhood issue, again, you can have horrible things happen to you. It happens. You can be in a school shooting. You could be going to work and some guy starts opening up on you. You could be in a combat situation. You could be part of a terrorist incident. You could be in a horrible car crash. You could come on to somebody who commits suicide. All these things happen. I mean, it does happen. But your childhood, you really want to keep that pristine, because what happens is you don't develop inner strength if something happens to you as a child when you turn into an adult. You don't have resiliency. That's what I have found. You don't have the resiliency to get through tough times. And you tend to cave in early. You tend to give up early because you're so used to failure. That's how you see yourself. It's like, you buy a sports car. Oh, 140. Oh, I want it. But it's a damaged sports car. So no matter how fast you rev the engine, it only can go 80. It's not going 140. Well, I should have told you that engine was abused when it was in the factory by some better engines. You should have told me that. Doesn't have the ability to run the way it's supposed to. And that's what happens to you as a child when you don't get what you need and you're exposed to these kinds of behaviors. That's what happens to you. Okay, again, I hope that I'll give you some answers there, Brian. So here's the point also. And it goes both short-term effects and more chronic long-term. So just give you an example again, Brian, to fill out the answer. You get short-term effects like the first 6 months, and then hopefully that gets resolved, maybe counseling, medication, group therapy, change in venue, different job. And then there's the long-term chronic effects that can affect people the rest of their life if they don't get it treated. Okay, now, you're always looking at what's going to define how PTSD is going to affect people. Here's how it goes. Individual resiliency. What are you as a person? Can you shrug things off? Do you have the ability not to worry about things? Are you happy-go-lucky? What is your personality? That is huge. That tells a lot about you as a person. How do you see yourself? Do you have confidence in yourself? Do you like yourself? So individual resiliency is huge. Then you have your own personality, prior history of trauma. Is the brain been exposed to trauma over and over and over again? How old were you when you watched your mother get hit? How old were you when your sister was sexually abused? How old were you? What's your prior history of trauma? Again, I've said this before probably dozens of times. I grew up in a dysfunctional house. I saw my father hit my mother, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, very, very dysfunctional, very chaotic. Now, to the outside world, well, we tried to appear as normal and healthy and stable. There were cracks that you couldn't always keep that away, but that was the outward appearance. But at home, completely different animal. Things were not healthy. Severity of the trauma. Is it a one-time event versus chronic long-term abuse? I ask that question. Anyone that ever says to me they've been sexually molested, I'll say, how many times did it happen? That's always a question I want to know. Was it one time? Was it 400 times? Did it happen one time and you told your mother? Or did it happen 5 years at the hands of your stepfather who took naked pictures of you, who fondled you 2-3 times a week for 5 years? And it never came out. No one was ever told. He died of a heart attack suddenly, and the family went, shh, shh, don't say anything. So how often the event took place and what was the severity of the event? We're not knocking. Even one time is disgusting. People have told me a million times. Bruce, I was big chested when I was 13, and I would be commented about my breasts, and I had a cousin put his hands on them and start squeezing them, and I screamed at him. I said, "What are you doing?" And he ran away. It was a horrible incident. All right, terrible as it is, it's only one time. But if you got it like dozens of times, multiple times, it's different. The severity, the trauma is stronger, and it affects you more. Okay. Then the availability of an emotional support system. Emotional support system, ESS. What is that? Can I go to my father and talk to him? Hey, Dad, something weird's happening to me at the playground. There's these two older boys, and they take me to a quiet area behind the baseball field, and they make me pull my pants down. Do you have the confidence to do that? Do you have a mom that's going to listen to you? Do you have an older brother? But it's huge is what kind of emotional support system do you have? And I'm telling people right now that are listening to this, if you don't have one, try and find one. Who can you go to when things are bleak? It's so, I don't want to say interesting anymore. It's so sad to me when I talk to people in emergency rooms or in counseling. Who do you go to? Who do you go to? Who do you go to? I have no one in my life. No one? I mean, you were born to a woman. Hopefully your dad had some level of involvement with you. Cousins, well, nothing, no. I'm chronic homeless. I'm a transient. I go from state to state. I get on Greyhound, and I go from state to state, and I end up here in Vegas now. Before that, Cali, Colorado. Maybe I'll hit Utah. Nobody. Nothing. No one to look out for you. Who is your emotional support system? If you get anything out of tonight's video, that's the one thing I want you to get out of it. Who is your emotional support system? Who can you rely on if the chips are down? And if you say to me, I got nobody, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Because that means if something happens to you, you're going to have to process it by yourself. And that's scary. So emotional support system. Let us know who your emotional support system is. And if you don't have one, how you're going to find one. And that means, honestly, in relationships, being true, being honest, being there for somebody, and maybe looking at your own relationship with your kids. If they're looking up to you and you're not there for them, what are you doing as a father? Where are you that they don't come to you? I tell kids this thing also, because in so many cases of unfortunate with abuse with church functions, religious functions, kids go away for a weekend or, kids go away to a concert, just all this stuff with kids being taken advantage of, going to a sporting event, whatever it might be, that I always say the same thing. If you're in trouble, give me a XXX. That means I have to get a hold of you right away. Something bad has happened. You must talk to me. XXX. I've had at least 20 people do that. They triple X me. And I went in and I spoke to them what was going on because they were having a bad time. I said, if you're having a really bad time or something's wrong, XXX me. That's what you do. So emotional support system is huge. And environmental, and you don't want to go ahead, we'll get into that also with the drug and alcohol issue, but I really want to go back to that emotional support system. Who do you have in your life? It's scary to me how few people do. And just meeting so many people here in Las Vegas, like, where are you from? Nobody cares about me. No one cares if I live or die. Probably some truth to that. Why? So what do you got to do to get back into someone's good graces? Not just about your family having to look out for you. It's yourself having to look out for yourself. What do you have to work on? Okay, anyone got any questions? Fire away. Floor is empty right now. We're ready for any kind of question about this topic, PTSD. Now, people always ask me also this question: what are some of the immediate effects that could happen when you have PTSD? I took out some of the ones I thought were highlights, that I thought were the most interesting, were the most relevant, were the most common. One of them is guilt. Okay, that's a huge one. When I work with people, let's say, that had their kid molested, or I work with somebody whose wife died, where someone was in combat, his best friend got killed, where there was an industrial accident, someone fell off a ladder and got badly hurt. I get this a lot. I feel guilt. I feel guilt. I feel guilt. Why didn't I know what was going on? Why wasn't I more aware of things? Why wasn't I a better parent, a better comrade, a better soldier? What happened? Why wasn't I more aware at work when I came here and I said, "Where's Dave?" Dave killed himself over the weekend. Dave, I just spoke to the guy Friday night. He was going to meet me Monday morning. We're going to have lunch together. And he killed himself over the weekend. How come I didn't see the signs? So there's usually a lot of times with guilt. There's guilt from the person with PTSD because it's like, why didn't I protect myself? Why didn't I realize what was happening? Why did I go down that street? Why did I go down that block? Scary, but you get that guilt is so pervasive. Question. Thankful I never experienced PTSD trauma. My family is always there for me. You know what, Brian? Do me a favor tonight when you finish listening to this live stream. If you got your mom and dad, I want you to go there and give them a huge hug and a huge kiss, each one of them, both of them, and say thank you for being there for me. And if you got any siblings, I want you to do something nice for them. And I don't know, take them out to the park, go out, eat with them, give them a hug and a kiss, give them a card and say how much you love them. Because you're one of the few. You're as rare as gold dust to me with what I see out there. So if you got that, go to your parents and just take a picture with them. Say, I'm so lucky to have you as a mother. So lucky to have you as a father. I have PTSD. It's like your own personal hell. What's worse is that it makes you process the next trauma worse than the first. Man, perfect. Great example. Worse than the first. That's what starts to happen because you're working on a continuum. So the more trauma you're exposed to, the less defenses you're going to have for it. And you're not going to know how to prepare when the next one happens. Worse than the first. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not surprised at your answer because it's spot on. And that's the truth. That guilt. And when this person just said my own personal hell, that's what it feels like. It feels like you're in an abyss and you can't get out. And that no one knows what you're going through. You're the only one that's dealing with it. And it's punishing and it's painful. And it's like being beaten to death, really, with your own hands. And you can't stop it. It's a horrible, horrible thing to go through, PTSD. And it's really probably realistically underdiagnosed. I learned that many years ago when I started doing counseling, how many people are really suffering more from PTSD than being oppositional defiant and antisocial, and you're schizophrenic, you're bipolar. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Listen to these people's stories. They're horrific. So I hope that helps you out a little bit, time, and make some sense there for you. And, get the help that you need. Go forward. Don't stand still and get the treatment that you deserve. So the guilt. Number 2, denial. Never happened. Maybe it did, but not the way you're telling me, not the way the police report said. People lie. That would never happen. I misjudged the whole situation. I took it the wrong way. No. I wasn't being targeted. It was purely accidental with the gunfire. No. Can't be me. Why would they target me? He loves me. She wants the best for me. Why would someone want to hurt me? Oh, it can't be because of my religion, my ethnicity, who I am. No. Random. It happens 1 in a billion chance. We do denial. Oh, it hasn't really affected me. I'm getting it together. I work from home now. Yeah, but it doesn't affect me anymore. I stopped going down that block. Haven't done that block for 6 years now. But hey, I'm doing real good. When I drive, I never take the highways anymore. I take side streets. All right, it's 3 times longer to get from place to place. So I leave earlier. No big deal. It does affect you. It does affect you, but that's a denial that you swallow and wrap around yourself because you don't want to deal with what's happened to you. Okay, next. Self-sabotaging behavior. Oh, that's a biggie. I see that so much, particularly with kids who've been abused. And they can never fit in. They have such a hard time being successful. And people almost like pick up on it. There's bullying issues. There's trauma. There's cutting. There's self-loathing. A lot of that stuff. Even tattoos are different for me now. I look at tattoos differently. When I used to see tattoos, it used to mean something. And now I see tattoos, a lot of times they're like references to pop culture. And I always ask that question, why the Scooby-Doo tattoo? You know, what does that mean for you? Why do you have something, you know, SpongeBob tattoo? What does that mean for you? When I grew up, a tattoo meant like your mother, your father, you're in the military service, you know, you belong to a certain gang, certain element. It's a little different now, tattoos. I always ask why, to learn about the person. And quite often, there are issues from the past that were not resolved. Not happy. So when I say things like self-sabotaging, don't do so well in school, don't do well in sports, very few friends, socially awkward, don't pick up on things, and self-destructive means drugs and alcohol, and in a lot of cases today, overeating. They said 15% of women that are overweight or obese are related to trauma that has not been resolved. 15%. It's crazy, but those are the numbers. Those are the stats. So that's the self-sabotaging stuff I'm talking about. Then you have fear of intimacy. Well, if I don't trust myself, how can I trust being with somebody else? It's scary. I don't want to take my clothes off. I don't want to literally be naked in front of somebody. I might be ridiculed. I might be humiliated. So many people have gone through life with like the stereotype of what they were supposed to look like because, you know, 150 years ago it was newspapers. Then it was magazines. Now, of course, it's the internet. Then you have things, oh, you're supposed to be this kind of shape, this kind of size. If you're not, you're a loser. You don't have washboard abs for a guy, you're a loser. Look at your teeth. Look at your hair. Loser, loser. How many people went through their adolescence hating themselves because they didn't like who they were? Or your hair was this, your teeth were this. What do they know? But that's what people do to themselves. Then you have issues with body image, of course. Makes common sense. Now, here's what also happens to you. When the body is not in stasis, when the body's not relaxed, you get things like skin disorders, guys, rashes, hives, allergies. I see a ton of that at the hospital. People are always scratching, always like this, always something wrong with them. I need this kind of cream. You have any kind of ointment? Their skin is not at rest. Why? Stress reaction. What do you think hives are from? And I see people with bad skin. I'm always like, what is their history with trauma, with PTSD? Where is it coming from? Any questions, fire away, guys. I know this is a tough topic tonight. I know it's not an easy topic, but if you're here and you want to ask, tonight's the night to ask. We're ready for it. But I see that a lot with the body. The body is not in stasis. Then I see also emotional instability. Can't relate. You're not a good, you're called, you're not a good friend. I once asked a woman about another woman. I said to this person, would you have her in, like as a friendship, as your inner circle? She said no. And I said, just why not? She said, because she's exhausting to be around. Wow. Great example. Great insight into what another person is like. She's exhausting. She would be exhausting to be around. I would never want to hang out with her. Made sense to me. Valid. Emotional instability. You're never invited anywhere. You don't go anywhere. You keep to yourself. And when you're in a situation of like having a good time, you blow it. You say the wrong thing. You laugh at the wrong time. You kind of sit in the corner You're not part of it because that PTSD is eating you up alive. You don't feel good about yourself. Okay. Another thing, too, headaches. Another biggie. At night in the hospital before they go to bed, I can't sleep. My head hurts. My head's throbbing. I have a migraine. I'm stuffed. I have a runny nose. The head is always hurting. Always. Oh man, I get these crushing headaches. Man, it's right between my eyes. It's in the back of my head. It's on the side. It's pulsing. It's grinding. It's throbbing. I need something to put me out because I can't cope with my thoughts. That's what it's basically saying. I come from trauma and I can't figure it out. Next, autoimmune disorders. Again, the body is telling you, not feeling good, so I get sick a lot. This hurts, that hurts. I'm sensitive to that. I can't eat that. The body is not healthy, so it affects your mind. Learn this also, guys. It's not just your coconut you're worried about, it's your whole body. And if the two are not working in tandem, your body and your health, your body and your head, there's something wrong and there's a reason for it. Listen to your stomach, listen to your head, and work in concert. Hope, peace, and good health for you all. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's a tough topic. It's not a fun topic because you kind of look at yourself in the mirror and kind of, deal with it. It's cold. But that's what this is about. Here's another thing I want you to be aware of. Loss of trust in others. You don't have, again, it's the same pattern. Loss of trust in others. Everything is fearful. Bruce, man, I'm on the swim team. They have parties and they have, they're friends with the girl swimmers. Some of them are cute. I never get invited, man. You know why? Because they probably wouldn't want me around anyway. I'm not one of the best swimmers. I'm just learning the sport. Where you hang out with a group of friends, and like 15 people are going to go to the movies, somehow you're not invited. Why not? Well, I'm sure they wanted to ask me, but they probably wouldn't want me around, and I'm not really that fun. I don't really know what the movie's about. I don't have money for popcorn, and they wouldn't want me to be there. You're stunting yourself. You're not giving yourself a chance to grow. I've had that a million times with people. I don't trust myself with those people. New situation, new food, new ethnic group, go to the restaurant here, take a different chance. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to take a chance? Why would you? Because you don't have trust in others. You don't really have trust in yourself. That's the problem. You don't feel good about who you are. Loss of trust. Here's another one. Fear of being alone. Yeah, you're doing all these things to yourself. You're doing all this damage to yourself. So what's going to happen? You are going to be alone. Man, I would have loved to have asked her out when I met her in high school, when I met her in junior college, when I met her in the army, when I met her at work, when I met her at a concert. But man, taking a chance, what if she would have said? She probably never would have wanted to go out with me anyway. I heard she got married to someone else, moved to a different state, had 3 kids. Man, I would love to look her up on Facebook. Man, I'd love to see what she's doing herself now. Oh, man, I guess I'm going to wind up being alone. And you know what happens? You do end up being alone because you don't have the confidence to push yourself and take a chance to be different. Oh, I don't want to take a chance. Asking her out, asking him out. Want to do something with these guys? Hey, you guys are going to the baseball game tonight? We have a team in Vegas called the Aviators. I'd like to. I don't want to. What if they say no? They probably don't want me to come. Those guys are tight. They've been together for years. Who am I to join that group? If you don't ask, guys, you don't get it. You don't grow. You don't take chances. What does PTSD really do? It limits you. That's what PTSD does. It limits you. And I'm giving you all these examples and all these disorders to understand that when you have PTSD and you don't get it treated, and you try and deal with it on its beginning versus waiting for its aftermath, it's like a punch in the face, and it diminishes the quality of your life. And you don't get over it, and you wake up one day and you're dead, and you're like, what happened? Why didn't I get the help that I needed to go forward? That's what PTSD is. It's a diminisher. You feel small. You're 6'1", but you feel like you're 1'1", because that's how you look at yourself. And you don't want to do that to yourself. So I'm giving you all these examples to learn about this, understand this, see how it applies to you. And if it does, what do you need to do to get around it? So when I talk about something like loss of trust in others, fear of being alone, what are you going to do not to be alone? What are you going to do to get trust in other people? What are you going to do? You got the symptoms. You got the issue. You had a trauma-filled incident. Maybe it likely happened more than once. Could have been a dozen times. Could have been hundreds of times. But what are you going to do to get out from that shadow to live the life you were meant to live? That means getting the right counseling, perhaps being on medication, changing your lifestyle. What are you going to do to get better? Hey, man, I just want to thank you. You covered a lot of my favorite songs. It means so much. These help me through everything thick and thin. The mud and the sunshine. Thank you so much. Love. Hey, happy. Thank you for that. Very nice. Nice comment. Reaching out to somebody else. What does this person just do? He didn't worry about his shyness. He didn't worry about like, oh my God, I'm talking to Bruce. Came out with a really nice comment. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. I'm glad our videos have helped you. Perfect. That's our goal, is to be that sunshine, and to be there, to thicken the thin. When things are bad, you pop on the video. That's why we like the training so much, because it's a chance for people to listen to something and they can have it in their pocket. Pull it up on your phone. Pull it up on your laptop. You have it accessible. Learn how to feel better about yourself. Okay, here's another comment you're going to get. Gastrointestinal disorders. The Greeks said this thousands of years ago. If the body is not comfortable, if there's not bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, cramping, nausea, then if you have that, there's something wrong. And all those neurons and pathways travel to your head. It makes sense. We're finally realizing if your digestive health stinks, then how are you going to get better? It goes hand in hand with your mental health. People always have chronic problems with their body. I can tell you this right now. That's going to lead to stress, and that's probably related to your PTSD that did not get resolved. Mac Miller's my spirit guide. You too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it. But I want you guys to understand this whole perspective of it, how to look at it from a different angle, how to see it from a different perspective, and to go forward. Okay. Now, here are a couple of things you want to learn about yourself when you're dealing with PTSD. Some valid points. Okay. Have good boundaries. Good boundaries, good boundaries. Don't put yourself in that same situation over and over again to be destroyed, to be taken advantage of. If you have bad problems with relationships, get some counseling. Figure out, why am I doing this to myself every single time, again and again and again? If I'm having a problem having a career, what am I doing wrong? We talk about finding a mentor that can listen to you, that can guide you, that can give you the perspective that you need to be successful. What do you need to do to have the right boundaries that people do not take advantage of you? Very simple. Love boundaries so hard, though, sometimes. Yeah, totally. Because we get so used to letting people invade our boundaries and not respecting us that we think it's normal. It's appropriate. It's okay. But it's not. It's not. It's not. Is PTSD common in individuals who make it out of the hood conditions? Is imposter syndrome related to PTSD? Great question. I will say this. Your neighborhood and your home environment plays a huge role. Look this up, Hal. It's called the ACEs score. ACES, capital 4 letters. Can't remember what it stands for, but it talks about what you experienced as a child and how these things impact you as you become an adult. So if you were exposed to violence, if you were exposed to physical abuse, if you were sexually offended, if your parents were alcoholics, people were in mental health hospitals, or you're around people with mental illness, what it does is it gives you a score, and it tells you where you stand. And the higher the score, it's kind of telling you really need to make some changes in your life, because where you started from is not where you want to end. And you take on any negative habits. Are you a smoker? Are you a drug user? Do you drink heavily? And the ACEs score will really give you an idea of where you stand. So it is a factor. Yeah, if you come from more neighborhoods where there's trouble versus not, it's going to tend to be a higher score. But I want to clarify something also. They did this study from kids that grew up in Yugoslavia during the Civil War and had family members killed, and kids that grew up in the Baltimore foster care system. Which kids did worse? And guess what they found? They found that, let's just say I have 3 boys and I was killed in combat. Fine. Burial, death, over. A cousin would say to my 3 kids, "You're coming to live with me." Family would be involved. Oh, the wife was killed. The husband was killed. The patriarchs were killed. Other family members would quickly say, "You're coming to live with us." You're not going to be in the system, so to speak. You're going to be with family. May not have been the father, may not have been the mother, cousin, uncle, aunt, sibling. They took them in. The kids in Baltimore foster care, they were primarily African American, had nobody. Their outcomes were a lot more severe because there was no one picking up the slack to say, "Your mom can't take care of you. I got you. I got you. I got you." It's not just even, black people. I've seen with white kids, every kind of kid. If you don't have that stable support system and you go through the system, it's much, much harder to be successful. You want to have that emotional support system, family, family, family. Got some questions here. ACES, thank you. Adverse Childhood Experience Score. Thank you. You got it. Is it so hard to communicate your own it's so hard to communicate your own preference? Of course it is. Like, you don't even want to stand up for yourself, even though you know it will make you happier, because you're feeling tiny. You're feeling insecure. You got to learn to take those baby steps to get that confidence in you. Absolutely. ACES, yes, Adverse Childhood Experience Score. Once you do stand up for yourself, it becomes addicting. Like, I'm worth it, Hell, yeah, I've been practicing that. Okay, good. Good little anger. How do I get that emotional support system? Great question. Okay, and by the way, I'm seeing people are starting to comment. We're going to be giving away 5 invites to come to our training. Not this time, but people that continue to give us good comments, we're going to be giving away down the road for the next training. So I'm just letting people know what we want to see. We want comments, and we want to take the best comments. And then not this training next week, but the following training next month, we'll be offering free invites to the top 3 to 5 comments. Just wanted to share that. So here's the question. Here's what you got to do. You got to sit down and say to yourself, who is in my life? Okay. Could I resolve things? Is there a parent I can get back to with and come closer to? Is there a sibling I can come to? Start off with your family. Like, it's taking a pebble, and when you throw it into a pond that makes those concentric circles, your family should be, hopefully, at the very beginning. It may not be the case. Do you have an aunt? Do you have an uncle? Do you have a best friend? Do you have a coach? Do you have a youth minister? Do you have a teacher? Who can you look at for emotional support system? Could be a friend's father. I've taken on that role myself with my son's friends, where they come to me, they don't get it from their parents, and they come to me for advice about college, about sports, about getting a job, about relationships. I'm not saying I need it, but I'm not seeking it. But people want to get that insight from you. That's fine. So you want to start sitting down and put together, who do I have in my life? Or even do this. Who do I want to have in my life? Who's important to me? And take the time. Don't have it someone that you work with, that you go out to lunch with once a week. They may not be the person you really want. But find someone that you can relate to, that you can talk to, that's going to be there when you need somebody, because people need people. You cannot do it as a rock. You're not an island, blah, 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 blah. You need that support. I just set boundaries with my best friend. Now she's not talking to me. I know she needs time, but it's hard. All right, let me say something about that also. What is friendship? Friendship means accepting you for what you are, where you are at that given moment. If you say to me, "Hey, Bruce, I need you to, you can't come over to my house 4 nights a week. It's a little too much. Let's make it twice a week or Saturday night, where I can't text you when I'm working because it's just I got work to do, and my boss gets ticked off if I'm starting to spend time not getting work done." Okay, respect it. Respect it. It's like if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and someone says, "Hey, I got to get the phone." Someone's calling me. I haven't spoken to him in like in a year. I want to get to say hello to him. What the first thing I say? Go. No big deal. Respect other people's boundaries because that tells you what kind of friendship you're going to actually be having with this person. If they really respect you, they'll respect your boundaries because they'll respect you as a person. Hope that helps. And that's what I want you to kind of understand from that angle and think about it. Having the right boundaries is the first step. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you need a fence. There's a reason why you have fences, so you don't get yourself caught up in things you shouldn't be getting caught up in, and everyone should be invading your personal space. Um, do 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 do. Hey, Joanna, I have a question. Fire away. Robocall, thank you. No problem. Ask the question right now, Joanna. No problem. Do you believe that suicidal depression is a thing? Okay, you're completely right. Thank you, JD. Joanna, do you think that suicidal depression is a thing? You know what? It's there. I'm saying suicide and depression go hand in hand. So you want to be careful when you're feeling so gray and so out of it. They gain the help that you need. But a suicidal depression there, yeah. When you're so depressed, you think that suicide's normal. You think it's appropriate. Totally understand that. Um, Having made out of it a really negative environment, college grad, educated homeowner, I find it tough to feel pride in my accomplishments. I feel a sense of survivor's guilt about my success. Why? Because you don't think you're worth it. That's it. You need to write down why you're worth it and look at that every day and get your brain to realize you are an accomplished person. You're a survivor. Stop feeling guilty for being successful. Hello, I suffer every day. I could understand that. Thank you, JD. I could only imagine what you're dealing with. I'm sorry to hear that. I would definitely say get into some counseling, kind of go from there. What are common motivators for survivor's guilt in an individual? What the motivator is, when you got to look at it, say is like people will often say this to me, like, I can't believe I came out of that alive. Everyone else got badly injured. I only had some bad scratches. Where half my squad was killed. I was the only one that was not wounded severely. Where I was on this situation. This happened to me. The shooter picked everyone else, but let me walk away. Feel guilty. I feel guilty. Don't look at it as guilt. Look at it as you got a second chance. Make the most out of it. You got lucky. You got a break. They threw an ace at you. Be grateful for it. I get it. I had this feels like my two sisters got molested. I didn't get molested. I feel horrible guilt, and I feel like a jerk because their lives have been shattered. I married a good guy who loves me, and I didn't have to deal with any of that crap that my father did to us. I didn't realize my two sisters were being molested the way they were, and I feel like a failure, like I should have been molested. I hear that a lot. Don't beat yourself up. People are too damn good at that. Stop doing it. Okay. I'm 46 and I literally cannot deal anymore. I can't find a counselor, no family, and I can't trust anyone. Hey, do not give up. Do not. If it doesn't work with one counselor or one therapist, find another. Find someone you can relate to. Do not give up. You're still a young person. There's hope. Never give up. Every day is precious. Do not give up. Hang in there. Let us know how that goes. Thank you. Okay. It's never too late to find help, Joanna, and help us out that you can do this. Go online. We discussed this a couple of weeks ago on different kinds of therapy that's available. A lot of stuff is not too bad, not too expensive. You tend to get what you pay for, but that's irrelevant in your case. Find someone you can talk to, find what works for you, and go. Get there and go talk to someone. Let us know how you're doing. We're concerned. We want people to get better, not worse. Going to try a few. The need is more than the counselors. I'm on a waiting list. That's fine. Then you know what? Just came out today. What are they pushing now more than ever? Telehealth. So if you can't see someone physically, try and see somebody online. Telehealth has exploded. And look online. There's all kinds of programs. You can talk to a counselor. Give it a shot. Let us know if you think it is even helpful. But there are other alternatives. If you can't see someone live to live, telehealth has exploded since COVID. People didn't want to go to other people's offices. So see what works for you. Do not give up. Waiting list, I'm not surprised. Everyone is full right now. But see what your insurance can handle. And if there's a telehealth option, take it and go for it. Good luck again. Let us know how things go. Telehealth, I will look into that. Yeah, it's huge. Type in telehealth, therapy, telehealth online, talking to a therapist online. You'll get pop, 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 and you'll find something that works for you. Do they take state insurance? Yes and no. Sometimes they'll say yes, depending. There are telehealth counselors now, depending on your state insurance. What state are you coming from? But generally, go on the back of your insurance card, an 800 number, and find out do they have telehealth options. And if they do, hook up with the telehealth counselor and go from there. Washington State. Okay, perfect. Go on the back of your card and look and see what is available and just go from there. What usually causes us not feel like we had a mother or father figure growing up? When you don't have one. They're absent. They're not there. They're vacant. That's why next week's training about fathers and why it's so important with their emotional needs of their sons and daughters is so relevant. Come on next week, watch. You know the date and time already, 24th, 5:30, 10 o'clock through PayPal. If you want to pay through any crypto, send us an email. It's in the description box. We'll take care of it. You didn't have someone that was there. They were distant. That's what drives me crazy about particularly fathers. Like, I'm reserved. I'm not involved. Damn it, you need to be involved. You need to be in the trenches. You need to be in the front lines. You can't raise your kids from behind a TV, or playing video games. They need you. They need you. They need you. Okay. Good luck, Joanna. As an educator, I experience a lot of vicarious trauma. What are signs of that taking a toll? Easy. Let me give you a couple of things to think about right now. Detachment, flashbacks, nightmares, avoiding reminders, insomnia, lack of motivation. I see a lot of that. Anger. I see a lot of anger. And I see feeling jumpy. And I see also making bad choices like drugs and alcohol, overeating, poor relationships. When you just don't really care anymore, when you're kind of going through the numbers, it's time to really say to yourself, like, hey, I need to get some help. That's vicarious trauma. Okay. Thank you for your responses. They're very good. I hope it helps. I don't understand why people think it's okay to have kids and abandon. I have 2 teens I took in plus my own. Hey, you can't eat. Yeah. Outstanding. Thank you for doing that. You can't eat either. Yeah, either you overeat or you don't eat. Sounds like you got a big heart. Done all those. Yeah, that happens. Those are all factors. That's what I'm saying about parents. If I try and do anything, it's to try and tell them how important their involvement is. I'll give an example. Happened to me last night. I got a son in his early 20s. He has a job that requires him to take a bus. Fine. Hopefully he's going to get his license soon. And he's supposed to be around 12 o'clock. I wake up at 1 o'clock. I always check my kids' beds. I still do. They're not little people. He's not in his room. I'm like, what's going on? So I say to his brother who was up, he's home from college. Where's your brother? I don't know. All right, text him because I'm texting him. I text him. He says to me, the bus didn't come. I'm sitting here. I'm waiting for the bus. I said, okay. And he goes, if it's going to be too long, I'll take like an Uber home, Lyft. Fine. Then he says to me, yeah, the second bus didn't come. I said, take the Lyft. Get home. I don't care. I'll pay for it. I don't care. Get off the streets. It's like 100 degrees out there last night. And, I said to him, next time that something happens, you let me know. If I have to, I'll get out of bed and I'll pick you up. I don't care. You're my son. Oh, okay, Dad, you're right. I didn't realize that. Involved, involved. Um, got a lot of questions here. One is a trans kid, and then the grandma abandoned his brother in my apartment. I couldn't just slam the door in his face. Their mom is awful. You know what, Joanna? I got to bow down to you and give you kudos because it takes a lot of guts to do that. My kids would bring home strays in high school, kids that were kind of abandoned, didn't have a place to go. I took them in, and I was like, I can't. How can I not take them in? And yeah, a little bit of a disruptive in life, but I took them in. For you to do that, you are a wonderful person to do that, and give kids a chance that don't have anybody, give them a sense of support and a sense of normalcy and a sense of rules. That's what kids are begging for more than anything, is someone to say, this is acceptable, this is not. But you love me unconditionally, and are you there for me? So thank you for doing that. It's huge. That means a lot. And that's why I'm pushing for fathers. I'm not knocking the mommies, but I'm pushing the fathers to be active with their kids. It makes a huge difference. I see this every day at work. I see so many kids that are lost. And they're not kids anymore. They used to be 10. Now they're 20. Now they're 30. And they're lost. And what are their main issues? Yeah, the drugs and alcohol. Yeah, they're doing it. No, it's the PTSD and the trauma. They never got resolved, and a sense of abandonment, that no one was there for them when they were growing up. And all that anger, and like they got bullied, they got beaten up, and they turned to terrible decisions because they have no self-confidence. You see how this kind of loops over and over again? That's why I want people to kind of really understand this. My daughter's dad got a late onset schizophrenia. Wow, that is late. 51 and thinks everyone hates schizophrenia. Do you know if there's a therapy that specializes in schizophrenia? Yeah, real simple. On the back of your card, you had the insurance. Say, I'd like to get somebody that specializes in dealing with someone who has schizophrenia. Not a problem. A lot of people do. On the back of the card, just simply say, I'm looking for someone that specializes. And they will give you a list of people, or even in your area, Google with search someone that specializes in a specific disorder that you're dealing with. Okay. The issue is all my parents did was spend their money to try and make me happy, and then they got frustrated. I didn't give anything in return. Listen, I'm sorry to hear that. With my kids, and I tell us anyone that wants to be a parent, forget about giving. They want your attention. The money is secondary. They want your attention, guys. They don't need your money. They want you to be involved. Makes so much sense. All my exes, me too, honestly. I just graduated from college around a year ago. I have my degree in criminal justice and child advocacy. I'm on disability, and I'm going to work with the job coach. Hey, good for you. I want to help out kids that don't become broken adults. That's it. Perfect. When I'm working with somebody who's 55 years old and did 30 years of hardcore drug and alcohol usage and was beaten to a pulp as a kid, was molested, been in and out of the criminal justice system, on the streets, didn't finish high school, what am I going to do that's going to change that brain? It's already damaged. So when you have kids that are much younger, they have a chance to make a difference. That's why I'm kind of gearing the PTSD towards adolescents and to children. If you're there for your kids, you won't see them become dysfunctional adults. They'll become self-reliant, self-aware, self-confident, self-assured. See, I'm using self all the time, again and again and again. That's the point. You want your kids to be strong, but you got to give it to them. It's like building a building. You can't just like throw it out there and expect the girders to come together and the concrete and the rebar and the ground to be great. That's a fantasy. You got to be involved every step of the way, good and the bad. Thanks, mate. Love your music analysis videos, your great community engagement, clear, very heartfelt blow. Peace from Australia. Thank you, Carl. Much appreciation. Thank you for saying that. And that's what I want you guys to understand this. This is the whole point about this tonight's topic. And I had a feeling this was going to happen, honestly. People are going to be like looking and listening. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like, damn, he's talking to me. He's relating to me. He's talking about my life. Because then all of a sudden, like, everything exploded, which I kind of thought was going to happen. Because we talk about topics here that most people don't want to talk about and why it happens. But we don't shy away from anything. But I knew sometimes it's so raw, it's so edgy, it's so uncomfortable. Who wants to talk about it? So it takes time for the first person to jump into the pot of hot water. Then everyone else is like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Thank you so much for your channel. I love that you are using your platform for good. Of course. There's so much negativity out there, so much stupidity, so much that people are not getting what they need. They're not maturing the way they should. They didn't get what they needed. They didn't get the support that they needed. So we're gearing this tonight to listen. I can discuss PTSD to veterans, people of terrorist incidents, mass shootings, natural disaster, of course. But I want to gear it tonight towards children and how it affects them and how it affects their growth into adult maturity. One good thing that came out of the COVID nightmare is people are talking. Yes, good. Yes. We often talk about these things in our friends group. However, another perspective is great. Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad you have a friends group to talk about stuff, Carl. Good. But it's always good to get another perspective. And I like the way you said it. Another perspective is great. Absolutely. That's how you got to think. Like, talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, it will eat you alive. You know, I'm sure everyone here has watched the Alien movies at one point or another. And there's always that scene where, like, it's like, and all of a sudden the alien bursts out of the guy's chest. And they're like saying if you come upon them before the thing hatches, they're like, please kill me, please kill me, please kill me. Because they're literally being eaten out from the inside. There's nothing left of them before the thing pops out. And that's the whole point. You don't want your insides eaten out and destroyed before you realize I got a problem here. I got all these symptoms. I got all these signs. I got all these issues. Gee, what happened? 45 years old. I'm 25 years old. I'm 15 years old. I waited too long to get help. Get the help now. Find the person that can work for you, that can help you. My eldest daughter lost her dad to military-induced suicide. She was 14, and now she's 28. She's so upset with her dad. Simple answer. Get her into counseling. Help her. She's dealing with grief and loss, and she has PTSD. PTSD due to grief and loss, and she's dealing with depression and anxiety right now. Get her into counseling. What do you think of EDMR? If it works, use it. There's been some good stuff written about it. People find it helpful. Don't be afraid to try different kinds of therapy. Not every therapy is going to work for everybody. I'm reality oriented, and that's fine. But if EMDR, if it works for you with, the stick and, this decentralization, work it. Nothing wrong with EMDR. It helped a lot of people. It has helped a lot of people. So give it a shot. Okay. What are some supports educators can provide to students 12 to 15 who have PTSD, addict parents, molestation? The thing to do is really simple. That's a really broad question, but here's the answer. See it through their eyes. See it through their eyes. Read about it, understand it, but most importantly, understand it from their eyes and from their perspective. Hope that helps. Thank you. Very nice comment. I'm working on it. We're both suffering PTSD. I get it. Of course you would be. A wife and a daughter? It's like your heart was ripped out from you. Totally understandable. But you got to get into some counseling because you're both suffering from PTSD related to grief and loss and trauma. And you're dealing with anxiety, probably flashbacks, probably nightmares. You don't want to live your life like that. I get it. You lost someone that was very dear to you, of course. But you want to be able to move on the best you can, if not just for yourself, but for your daughter as well. It's important to see our abused kids, where they are at now. Yeah, where are they at? I'm going to close with this because we're almost out of time. When I work with people, anyone I work with from 3 to 83, and listen, I've worked with thousands of people. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a master's degree. and I've worked with every kind of population out there, from prisons, outpatient, hospital-based, emergency room, going to people's homes, home-based therapy, everything, group therapy. I can tell you this, you got to look at it through someone else's eyes. If you can't do that, it doesn't work. That's my biggest success as a therapist, as a clinical social worker, is seeing it through someone else's eyes and taking what they say seriously. Okay. It's important to see because your awesome, amazing work you do. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Some nice compliments tonight. Thank you, guys. Much appreciation. All right, we're about to stop here. Any last questions? Fire them in. Not a problem. Just saying one last time. Next week, the 24th, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be doing fathers. Okay, it's $10. Anything you need to know is from the information box. It's all there. Trust me, if you want to do cryptocurrency, we accept that. Just shoot us an email, and we'll give you the code that you need. And the topic is the importance of fathers in a child's life. Oh, bang, bang, bang. Got a couple here. If you don't try to understand, they won't help you understand. Perfect. Great. You got some good comments, Time. Thanks for sharing. Can a PTSD be healed, and what is the best therapy in your opinion? I'm in therapy for many years now. Currently becomes harder. More flashbacks. Thank you. Appreciate it. For me, okay, I call it compartmentalization. Process the memory and then put it away. It's like all over your house, like paperwork. It's all messy. Take the memories, go through them, resolve them, get what you can out of them, put it into a box, put it away, go forward. That's it. Thank you, Joanna. Very nice of you. So good luck. But and you know what? And if the therapy is not working with one person, try somebody else. Maybe you're not clicking. Maybe you need a different approach, different angle. You're older. Maybe you see things differently. But I'm just saying, don't be afraid to try different concepts. Appreciate your videos. Please, thank you. Great stuff tonight, Bruce. Is the parent's reaction to a traumatic event cause PTSD or worsen it? It depends on the reaction. If a parent says to a child, hey, you were molested, you told me, gotcha, thank God. If you were in a horrible accident, the parent says, thank God you're in one piece, I love you. If you were in a flood, a mass disaster, terrorist attack, something horrible happened, and your parent says to you, I'm here for you, I love you, you can always talk to me, it's a huge difference. So it's the parent's reaction to something that defines it. I'll give you just a quick example. I had a friend of mine, he was in a bad car accident. The car got totaled, but he was pretty much okay. And he was so worried the father was going to be screaming at him because it was a new car. He borrowed it, blah, blah, blah. Father said, it's just the car. I can't replace you. I can replace the car. The car is irrelevant to me. My friend said that changed everything. He's like, he started sobbing that his father came and saw him. He was banged up. He wasn't banged up. The car was, but he said, it's just the car. Who cares? I can replace a car. I can't replace a son. So how the parent responds to these things makes all the difference in the world. Okay. Quick question. What advice do you have for someone that has recurring dreams about their father's death? Totally understandable. You are dealing with nightmares. That's part of PTSD. There's nightmares and there's flashbacks. Nightmares happen when you're sleeping, and it's a subconscious level. You haven't gotten the issue resolved. Therapy. Good luck. How can I help a friend that is in this last question? How can I help a friend that is in an abusive situation with their mother? I don't want to make decisions for them, of course. What do you say? Are you doing okay? Is everything all right? Be the bridge. That's it. I'm here for you. Everything okay? Stressed out? Everything okay with mom? Everything you doing all right? Just be there. Make the comment. Okay, guys. We're going to call it quits tonight. Thank you again, once again, for watching Sunridge of Nevada. Again, you know the routine for next week. Thank you again. We got a lot of comments. The topic, again, was very painful for a lot of people, I realize, at home. But thank you. Thank you. Good luck with everything and get help. Take care.